Over the course of Heart of Darkness, the setting devolves to convey Marlowe's journey from civilization to the uncharted reaches of Africa, which simultaneously conveys his internal journey from civilized man to insanity. Marlowe begins his quest in the familiar, civilized realm of Europe. However, even here Marlowe gets an inkling of something sinister. The white sepulchral city is cast in deep shadows and dead silence, with grass growing between the stones and windows covered with Venetian blinds, as if a great evil hides behind the facade. The creepy women knitting black, who lead him from the outer room, further convey that Marlowe is getting into something not quite right. As Marlowe sails into the African coast, he observes the first of several instances of insanity. A French warship firing ineffectually into the continent, while the men on board are dying of fever. It is upon observing this that Marlowe gets a sense of the lack of efficiency prevalent in colonial Africa, a trait he prides European civilization for. Upon landing at an outer station, Marlowe is confronted with another scene of insanity. An upturned, rusted train car missing a wheel. A chain gang of criminals, explosives inefficiently blasting away at the mountains in the distance, and a grove of death full of overworked natives waiting to die. Here Marlowe begins to really understand that, despite what people like his aunt claim, the European colonists are really flabby, pretending, weak-eyed devils of rapacious and pitiless folly. However, civilization still remains in the form of the company accountant. Dressed stylishly in his white suit and focused on numbers, he reassures Marlowe that, in all the tumult, there still exists some semblance of efficiency. Such efficiency effectively disappears when Marlowe arrives at the central station, only to find his steamboat wrecked. No one seems willing to help him acquire the rivets he needs to repair it. The unsettling general manager only ever goes on about his most valued agent, Kurtz. Everyone at the station just wanders around with huge staves like faithless pilgrims, murmuring about ivory and jealously vying for positions, with nothing ever getting accomplished. There's a brickmaker who never makes bricks. He claims he doesn't have the materials, but after more than a year, he's still waiting at the station, not making bricks. The manager's uncle basically leads a band of pirates called the El Dorado Exploring Expedition, and they bring back plunder, but not rivets. Then one night, a shed full of supplies bursts into flames, and the pail used to put it out has a hole in it. Then a native worker is almost beaten to death because he supposedly started the fire, and he can be heard moaning in agony for days afterwards, and Marlowe still can't get rivets! It's at this station of untempered greed and idleness that Marlowe experiences the true madness at play in the company's exploits. The employees put on a facade of civility, but really they're all either malicious conquerors like the El Dorado explorers or petty, backbiting self-promoters who spend their days gossiping and wishing they could be as rich and influential as Kurtz while at the same time not doing anything. While traveling on the river, Marlowe feels a raw darkness within the jungle, but is prevented from seeing it directly, only able to make out natives dancing and shrieks and cries from within, and at times is aware of the inner truth in the dense foliage watching him as he attends to the surface. This blindness caused by the surrounding trees and the thick cotton-like fog gives Marlowe only a faint hint as to what lies within both himself and the surrounding greenery. Here, in the face of a thing monstrous and free, Marlowe admits to a kinship with the savages he observes, and is thrilled by the fiendish row. The other Europeans on the boat show fewer signs of civilization, out where the earth is unearthly. The men are worked into a frenzy by the shrieks of the natives and have their guns at the ready in preparation for the attack. Ironically, the cannibal crewmen remain calm and restrained in the face of danger. Here also, Marlowe encounters violence and death firsthand, as his helmsman is killed by a native spear. The violence of the natives is reflected in the bloodlust of the pilgrims, who are eager to shoot them for sport. Again, Marlowe receives respite from the savagery in the form of a hut he believes belonged to an Englishman, and a book on seamanship with notes that appear to be written in cipher. When Marlowe arrives at the upper station, however, his signs of civilization are revealed to be false. The hut and the book belonged to a jester-like Russian, who is a devout follower of Kurtz, and what was believed to be cipher was merely the Russian writing in his own language. Furthermore, the decaying station, with large holes in its roof and a fence of heads on sticks, represents a greater darkness still, as it is at the heart of Kurtz, who by now is utterly unrestrained. Marlowe reflects that the land never appeared so hopeless and so dark, so impenetrable to human thought, so pitiless to human weakness, like a mask or prison. Even as Marlowe thinks this, and as the pilgrims attempt to move Kurtz, the natives are ready to kill them unless Kurtz says the right thing. Marlowe feels indignant at the absurdity of being at the mercy of the atrocious phantom that is Kurtz, who can yet make ghosts of them. Marlowe again finds his life at peril from the nearly dead Kurtz as the latter crawls on all fours like an animal toward the fire illuminating a crooked corner of the station house, the throb of drums, the drone of weird incantations, and the black figure with horns on its head. Here, Marlowe literally stands between Kurtz and his becoming irretrievably lost. By forcing Kurtz to return to the ship, Marlowe returns him to a shade of his original self, one full of plans and ideas. However, Kurtz is unable to survive his return to civilization, and in his final moments, surrounded by darkness save for Marlowe's burning candle, sees a vision of horror. Appropriately, he is buried in the muddy, primeval earth that drove him to madness. Marlowe nearly dies himself on his return from the heart of darkness, but although he survives, he is unable to look upon civilization in the same way. He alone can understand the horror Kurtz spoke of.